Welcome back to the GTN Show. This week, we are looking at the state of our sport. Is it on a decline? Has it seen its best years?
Yeah. Plus, Alex Yee runs a rapid 10-kilometer in Valencia, and Magnus Ditlev makes a decision between the T100 and the Ironman Pro Series.
Yeah, and we are less than 7,000 subscribers away from 1 million. So if you haven't done so already, tell your mates, and I'll keep saying this until we hit 1 million.
Starting as we always do with some of the stuff we've noticed on the internet over the last week, starting with this one, which is a bit of a crazy story. Hilda Dozogne has run 366 marathons in 366 days. Literally a marathon every day for the entire year of 2024.
That is over 15,000 kilometres. I would just love to have seen her Strava Wrapped at the end of the year. A little recap. Imagine that.
You did a fair amount of running this year, it says. I mean, it is impressive. They say on the Instagram post, 1,588 hours of running, equivalent to running from Ghent to Cape Town, South Africa. Because that puts it in perspective. You know what that feels like, right? You can judge that distance.
Anyway, she has raised a heck of a lot of money, over 65,000 euros, which is all raised for Big Against Breast Cancer charity, which is, an amazing accomplishment.
Very impressive. I mean, we did a marathon a day for 7 days a little over a year ago, and that was enough.
Yeah, I was very happy to finish it. Maybe after day 3, actually.
Yeah, that was more than enough, actually.
Anyway, back to the world of triathlon. Max Neumann, an athlete who we haven't heard a whole lot about. He's kind of been quiet, and for a very good reason, because he's been undergoing surgery recently on his ITB. He has made a little comeback, or a comeback post, I should say.
Yeah, he said surgery on his ITB was 6.5 weeks ago and was successful. Now getting back into some pain-free running for the first time in a long time. And we are looking forward to seeing Max Neumann, a T100 winner and 4th place at Kona, see him back on the racing courses around the world this 2025.
Yeah.
So, welcome back.
Now, just a little precursor to the next post, did see this comment on our video from Eric Sleeth. Not reporting on Laidlow's retirement and move to Hyrox on our show last week, I believe it must have been. Now this is referring Sam Laidlow's recent Instagram post where he says, I've decided to step away from triathlon and start a new journey. I'll be taking on a new challenge, the Hyrox circuit. Why? It's the opportunity of a fresh start and a whole new arena to test myself. It's time to swap swim for sled pushes and biking for wall balls. Triathlon has been amazing, but I'm ready to push my limits in a completely different way.
To answer your question, Eric Sleeth, we weren't going to report on it, no, because it's very tongue-in-cheek and a little bit weird, to be honest. I mean, we get it's a joke, obviously. He's Ironman World Champion. He's definitely not making a move over to Hyrox like certain retired Ironman World Champions have done in recent history. But it was all, I don't know, it didn't really land. I don't know, maybe it was just me, but it didn't seem to really land.
Either way, it was a joke, and I thought that was quite obvious, but anyway.
He's not going to Hyrox. So
Magnus Ditlev has announced that he has decided to do the Ironman Pro Series this year, meaning no T100, and also, I guess, importantly, because he's, 3-time Challenge Roth winner? Or 4?
3.
3.
Yep.
He won't be doing Challenge Roth, we assume.
Well, yeah, I don't know. He's got some space in there for if he's just doing the Pro Series and none of the T100, because this year he did quite a few. He did Challenge Roth and he did all the T100, did really well in the T100 series. I would say one of the more successful T100 athletes. But he's decided to go all in for 2025 on winning the Ironman World Championships. He says he's got 3rd, he's got 2nd, and he really wants that top step of the Ironman World Championships. So he's going all in and won't be doing the T100 series, which is, I can completely understand the decision, but it is quite a big decision when you clearly were offered a T100 contract for the year and a lot of money attached to the T100 contract. But yeah, we're going to see him race the Pro Series. I would say he's a favourite to win the whole Pro Series and possibly the Ironman World Champs.
Yeah, definitely.
Given that decision.
And also, going on right now, I believe they'll still be going at the time this video actually goes out, is the Montane Winter Spine Race, which is, I mean, it's definitely the hardest ultra in the UK, but it's got to be up there with one of the hardest ultras, full stop, in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the conditions.
Epic. It is 268 miles long, which I mean, they have a Montane Spine Race South and a Montane Spine Race North, and each of those are over 100 miles, which is basically the first half you could do, or you could start a few days later and do the second half, while the crazy people are doing the entire thing.
So actually it takes on the Pennine Way, so it actually starts in Edale in Derbyshire and it goes north up just into Scotland. It's 268 miles, and as it is at this time of year, it is bleak.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
the
north of
conditions
England,
those guys go through.
It's winter, proper winter.
Now, interestingly, Lucy Gossage, who is ex-pro triathlete, is actually currently in second place. She also did it last year and did very well, and very close to first place female athlete. I've also got John Kelly, who has dabbled in triathlon before. He is a well-accomplished ultra runner. He is currently third man at the moment. So
it is an epic race, and if you want to go and watch it, there isn't really like a live stream or anything because they absolutely couldn't get anyone out into those remote places to film it. But they do a daily wrap-up on YouTube, and they also have dot watching, which has kind of been my favourite pastime for the last weekend while I watched Lucy Gossage's dot crawl along the line. And I imagine those dots will still be going if you're watching this soon after this video came out.
It's time to have a serious talk about our sport of triathlon. Is it dying? Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh. But is it losing popularity? Is participation dropping?
It is interesting. On one hand, it feels like our sport is in a great place with the emergence of the T100 series, the Ironman Pro series last year, and the money being invested in the sport. But on the other hand, we've heard that participation numbers at the age group level may be dropping, and we've seen lots of smaller events actually closing down.
Well, we actually both came into the sport around a similar time. When were you? About
2005?
Yeah, I was about 2006, and I guess it felt at the time that triathlon was really buzzing at the time. And actually statistics show a big rise in participation since the sport was included in the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney.
Yeah, in fact, it has been quoted that triathlon was the fastest growing sport in the UK for a number of years, particularly after those 2012 Olympic Games in London. According to the Triathlon Industry Association, the UK triathlon industry rose by 57% from 2012 to 2016. And a similar trend is seen across the board worldwide.
Yeah, and given Ironman is the biggest race company in the sport, it's worth us looking at their numbers. So during this period, Ironman events doubled. Entrance-wise, they went from around 42,000 in 2008 to roughly 84,000 by 2019. So a pretty impressive rise, most of which happens between 2008 and 2014. And I should add to this, this is all thanks to Russ Cox, aka Coach Cox, who many of you may have come across online when you're searching various statistics around Kona and how best to qualify. He's crunched a lot of these numbers on our behalf.
Yeah, but interestingly, these numbers seem to kind of stagnate after 2014. USAT membership numbers also backs up this trend. As a result, we have indeed witnessed the closure of a number of long-standing triathlon events.
But why? Well, we're speculating here, of course, as we don't know the main reasons for triathlon's possible loss of ground. It could simply be cost, as many commenters on this topic seem to suggest. The cost of living has gone up around the world in recent years since COVID, and triathlon is not cheap to participate in. And more than that, triathlons are not cheap to host. It essentially needs 3 different facilities for swimming, cycling route, and of course a running route. And this leads to lower numbers, leading to higher entry fees, and the cycle continues.
Yeah, it could also simply be competition. The endurance community is only so big, and there's been significant growth in, for example, the gravel cycling sector and also in the trail running sector. And both of these sports really appeal to potential triathletes, with the advantage, of course, being that they're less expensive and easier to train for. And that's before we talk about the less endurance-based pursuits like Hyrox, which we've seen some tri-pros even attempting, or at least saying they're going to attempt.
Yeah, now we're of course deep within the triathlon bubble, and it's hard to get a good picture of what it all looks like out there. And Ironman is cagey with its participation numbers, and they definitely wouldn't want to be sharing declining numbers with advertisers and of course stakeholders.
Personally, I think triathlon is still the same appealing challenge that it always was, and it still has a bright future. The main stakeholders just need to get back to their roots. It's not all about competition and winning. It's about challenging yourself. Ironman's core principle used to be every finisher is a winner. And while on the ground on the finish line, it often feels like that, as the commentator says, you are an Ironman. But in the social media and in the media itself, it feels a bit more like, how fast did you go and Did you qualify for Kona?
But it's not all doom and gloom. Whilst we sadly don't have totally up-to-date numbers, and partly because Ironman won't share them, Ironman participation does seem to be down, but 70.3 actually seems to be booming. The Ironman 70.3 series has over 150 qualifying races in more than 50 countries, compared to 30 events 15 years ago, many of which are now sold out. Also, we must remember that the sport is currently rebounding post-pandemic, and whilst numbers may not look as rosy as that 2014-ish era, the sport did see a boom then, and numbers are still quite good, just not as good as that peak. So the sport is getting a ton of media interest right now. There's a lot of exciting things happening, such as the T100 series. So it's not all so bad.
No, I don't think it is as bad as you could paint it out to be. But it does... There's a little bit of cause for concern, and I do think the stakeholders do need to really ratchet up their game to get new players into the sport, to get people starting the sport, trying the sport, and enthusiastic about trying the sport. What do you guys think? Do you think triathlon is on a slippery slope and going the wrong way, or do you think it's just as exciting as ever?
What do you think? What's your vibe on why you got into the sport in the first place and what you feel like it's losing now?
Well, I kind of said already that I think that when I got into it, it was about the personal challenge, and it didn't matter whether you finished first or 20th or 2000th. You felt like you were a winner. It felt like you'd achieved something. It was you achieving something with all these other people achieving something at the same time. And I don't think that triathlon is really embracing that anymore as much as they should be. I think anyone who finishes any triathlon from any distance should be celebrated as something absolutely incredible that it is. And I don't think the sport is really doing that enough anymore.
One of the things that I loved as well is if you start looking at sort of the longer distance racing, and I feel like we're sort of moving away from with the T100 series, whilst they are fantastic, is that I would finish a 70.3 race and I'd get in the lift in my hotel and I'd end up talking to an amateur athlete that's done exactly the same course, the same race, experienced it all. And we could reminisce on essentially the same race, but we weren't in the same race together. But I was in the pro race, they were in the age group race, and it just felt like an amazing community.
I think a big part of that is also the courses. If you're no longer comparing it to other races or to other people, the course doesn't need to be flat and fast. And then you can start talking about the challenge of this hill or the challenge of that hill or the challenge of... And you can start picking challenges because everyone's in the same challenge and it's about you versus the course and you versus you. And it's less about, how fast did you go?
Make triathlon great again. Let us know how in the comment section down below.
To borrow that phrase.
Well, moving on from that debate and topic, we reported a few weeks ago that Alex Yee has decided to do the London Marathon in 2025. And not just for fun to get the t-shirt, he is going for it, seriously.
So not dressed as a fireman or a rhinoceros then for charity.
Well, that would be good. That would be fun.
I would like to see
I'm sure he would get
dressed up as a rhinoceros in a 50 kg suit. And
he'll probably get the Guinness record as well. So.
Possibly, yeah.
Anyway, as part of that campaign, he actually announced that he was planning to do the Valencia 10K to kind of get a time down and sort of prepare for that, which is interesting. He's never actually run a 10K on the road.
It's funny how that
outside
happens
of a
with
triathlon.
triathletes. Like it took me a long time before I ran a marathon on the road, and I've done a lot in Ironmans.
Yeah.
It's just how it works in triathlon.
He'd of course ran a very fast 10,000 meters on the track, and he's probably run that multiple times. I think his time was 27:51 on the track. Okay. Now this weekend he actually ran a 28:07 on the road and finished in the top 30 and the third fastest Brit. He actually posted on a little Instagram story, not bad, not good. Needed some strength at kilometre 7/8. What an amazing race to be part of. 7 national records and a European record.
I would wager that he would have been significantly higher than top 30 in pretty much any other 10K race anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You probably won it, except for that one.
It's a notorious... I don't know what happens in Valencia. They just seem to attract these super fast
always
runners.
Got a tailwind or something. But anyway, we also saw this online this past week. Thicker shoes may be causing you injuries. Now, this is the result of a new study, or kind of an examination of the history. So a study examined 6 years of data about injury history and shoe type, also the weight, the cushioning, and the heel height of 700 people of all different racial and ethnic backgrounds and ages from 12 to 77. They used special treadmills and motion capture analysis to analyze these shoes and how people were striking the ground. And then they asked them how they felt they were striking the ground, and almost all of them in the thicker shoes said that they were striking the ground with their forefoot when they were in actual fact striking the ground first with their heel. And they're saying that this is causing people to misjudge how they land and therefore misjudge how they kind of compensate for that landing, how they cushion their own landing using their muscles. And this could be causing injuries, or it is causing a correlation on how many injuries people are having with the size of their shoes. So thicker shoes there is a correlation there, but they do caution you in saying that there's not necessarily a causation there. There is a correlation, but correlation doesn't mean causation. So more studies are required to prove that these thicker shoes that are kind of changing the way you land and how you perceive you land and how much impact you perceive you're getting are actually potentially causing injuries. There are some other studies, though, that have actually shown more of a causation effect and showing that this could be a thing, but they obviously didn't have as big a sample size. So there is more research needed on this, but it does give you a little bit of pause for thought as shoes get thicker and thicker and more cushioned.
Makes me wonder, wait until they start analysing swimming and people thinking,
Wow,
surely my hand is entering here.
Thick soles
I was
when you
thinking
swim,
more,
Mark?
everyone thinks that their hand is entering in one place, but actually it's right out here.
I think that's been known for years and years that people think that they're doing it. Look, I look like Michael Phelps. Meanwhile.
Anyway, moving on. We only had one race this past weekend over in Chile. It was Ironman 70.3 at Pucon. Over on the women's side, that was won by Cecilia Perez.
Yeah, and on the men's side, a 70.3 debut for Tyler Mislachuk from Canada with a pretty fast run of 1:10.54, taking the win there ahead of Jason West in second and Manuel dos Santos from Brazil in third.
Well, moving on now to Tri-Spy Guess the Athletes. Last week we gave you this image, which our camera operator actually chose for us, and I was stumped, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I was stumped too. I wouldn't have gotten this one. Although, some people did, but first, quite a few people didn't. Senna Ray said Ruth Astor. We had a Maya Stage Nielsen. We had a Flora Duffy, Jackie Herring. We had a couple for the Kona Dragon Big Blue and, Blumenfeld, but it wasn't them.
Actually, I've just noticed one of them, I think maybe a pro triathlete, Lizzie Rayner, also said Maya
got it wrong.
Stage Nielsen. Lizzie.
Tut. Don't know your peers. The answer was Lottie Wilms and William van der Crate. Got it right. Catty got it right, possibly at the Pro Series podium, even telling us where it was, which is, yeah. And
we did actually shout out and say if you can guess where it's from.
Well, Chesh also said Lottie Wilms on the Pro Series podium, and Marcus Ritter said, this is Lottie Wilms.
Very sure.
Very sure. Well done.
Well done. This week we have got this image. Say what? All right. Funnily enough, James wrote this section.
I didn't write the comments. I just found the comments under last week's show when we discussed the future of Ironman. I didn't write.
I'm not reading them all out.
No, you have to read them out.
Right, first one. Great Scott. Just put James in charge of all things triathlon. I would love to see a series with multiple distances to see who the best triathlete really is.
Yeah, exactly. And Nicholas said James nailed it. And Tom Cropper said James nailed the solution for the Kona problem. And Russell also said, James, great idea. Vote James for president. And they keep going. There's lots of them. James' idea is brilliant. Rate James' idea very highly. James suggested exactly what I think Ironman should do. And D3917 said, James for triathlon president of the world.
Where were you all when I proposed exactly the same idea?
I've never seen that video.
Multiple times.
I've never seen that video. No one's seen that video. I don't know what you're talking about.
James just
it all
stole
happened
my
in your
idea.
head. I didn't steal your. I don't know.
Stole my idea.
Everyone's voting for me for president, Mark. Triathlon president. I don't know whether the triathlon president is a thing. I don't think it is. Anyway,
we'll make it.
Yeah, exactly. Coming up on the show, on the channel later this week, we are starting a big triathlon journey for 2025.
Oh yes, we've got a relative newbie to the sport of triathlon. Okay, he's done one or two triathlons before, but he really is quite new to it.
He looks like a deer in the headlights when we talk to him about this whole project. So
he has never ridden aero bars. He has no idea what he should be taking on nutrition-wise for an event. He doesn't know what elastic laces are. We are going to be discovering all of this with him over the next 6 or so months in the lead up to his first sort of big triathlon, which we're try to tease him with maybe a middle distance, if not a full Ironman distance. That might be a bit much.
If we can twist his arm. But this weekend, we'll be introducing you to him and starting him on that journey.
Yeah, it's
basically kicking him out the door to start training.
It's going to be epic. Well, thanks ever so much for tuning in. Don't forget, we are so close to 1 million subscribers. Please hit that subscribe button and just suggest and tell your friends about our show and channel.
Share it far and wide. Subscribe now. Thanks for watching.